It's my pleasure and my honor to welcome Shirin Neshat here for a preview of, thank you, clap of that, you can clap as well too, of her new feature-length film, Women Without Men. And we are lucky to have both Shirin and her collaborator, Shoja Azari, here with us tonight. Yes. They're going to come out and introduce the film in just 1 second. Shirin asked me not to do the typical CV listing of her accomplishments, but I do want to talk about Shirin a little bit. Shirin is an artist that I've known for many years in the art world. I was lucky enough in 1998, when I was at the Walker Art Center in Minneapolis, to include her in an exhibition that we're working on. I believe it was her first film-based work called Turbulent, which actually Shoja is the co-star in. And from that moment on, Shirin's work has blossomed in terms of filmmaking and bridging a gap between cinema, as we know it, in terms of feature-length movies, and the world of art, video kind of production and installation. Today, we see the culmination of that in her new feature-length film, which is a commercial endeavor. It is going to be, it's been at the festivals. It has amazingly won the Silver Lion at the Venice Film Biennial. And of course, she's not any stranger to winning awards at Venice, because she also, in the Art Biennial, won the Golden Lion and the first international prize given in the 48th Venice Biennale as well in 1999. So Shirin has been showing in the art world for many years, and now is a director, and I can think of no better place for her to be showing this film than here at the Billy Wilder Theater, one of the great Hollywood directors of all time. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Shirin and Shoja to introduce Women Without Men.
Thank you so much. No matter how many times I do this, I still feel so nervous and my heart starts pounding every time. I want to say what a tremendous honor it is to be here and to have our premiere in Los Angeles. And I think if the film is about threading art and politics, art and cinema, I cannot think of any better city than Los Angeles. First of all, to be in this museum, where it's one of the best art institutions that I know of, the Hammer Museum. The city of Los Angeles for being one of the greatest cities for film and its history. Its contribution to the world cinema, and finally being the city that houses the largest population of Iranian community outside of Iran. So really this is a great, tremendous honor to be here tonight. I wanted to thank Anne Philbin, the director of the museum, Douglas Fogel, to invite us, and all the staff. But also I want to say to our distributor who's here tonight, Bob from IndiePix, thank you for taking on the risk to distribute our film, which is opening on Friday in the theaters. I want to also introduce Shoja, who actually probably doesn't often get the right credit, because Shoja has been all along a part of this project with me, from the development of the script to the direction of the film to the post-production, and so he gets as much credit and also as much criticism as I do for this. But also that there happens to be a few people in the room today that are really involved with this film. I think Peter Klein is here, who originally worked with me on the script in many, many levels of scripts. He's here in the room. Peter, where are you? So here, oh, there he is. It's so dark. Howard Rodman is here, who is one of my advisors at Sundance Institute, who is really a great honor to have him finally see the film in this room. And also Ken Brecker, who was the director of the Sundance Institute and now is here in LA for another great position. Thank you for being in this room to resonate this energy. And I just want to say that this film is obviously a readaptation of a novel by Shahrnush Parsipur, who herself lives in Norton, California. She's not here tonight. But also that I would like to just point out a few things, if you could keep in mind while looking at this film. And I think it's really important that this film is really meant to be an experiment. It really is trying to pioneer its own way of storytelling. It really does not try to follow any particular models. And that, if anything, it's really trying to find a balance between visual arts and cinema, between ideas of politics and ideas of art, and the question of magic and realism. And in making this film, which took about 6 years, we found ourselves asking many, many, many questions. Those questions, just to highlight a few, was, can visual artists learn to tell stories? And if we do, what manner will we tell our stories? And the other is, can we make a film that is meaningful to the Iranian people in the sense that it returns to a period that is very special to them culturally and politically, and yet it could be a work of art, that it could really take on the language of cinema and art in a way that any artist wishes to experiment with. And finally, can we take art at the highest level as it's presented in art galleries and museums and bring it closer to the commercial industry, that you could really not separate those who are very elite and educated and must see things in a particular way, and those who are less educated about cinema, etc., that they would basically be excluded from art in the sense that we practice. So this film is about an exercise of bringing aesthetic, conceptual art that we know it closer to the popular culture, and maybe it's too much of an ambition, but that was the aim. And finally, if I could say, the central theme of this film is the notion of the courage of those who seek an idea of freedom and democracy. And this goes for the women of Iran and the country of Iran. And oddly enough, when we were finishing the film in June of 2009, we saw the same event taking place in Iran. If in 1953 the women and the country of Iran were struggling for an idea of democracy, we saw that happening this year. And on that topic of freedom, I want to tell you that a lot of artists are in trouble in Iran today for the absence of the freedom of expression. One of our dear friends and the greatest artist, Jafar Panahi, is locked in prison today. We'd like to dedicate this evening to his spirit, for the work that he has done, to his contribution to Iranian culture, but for the position that he took in defending democracy, and that's the price he pays. And we really, really pray for his release. On that note, I will leave you, and Shoja and I will come back with Douglas to answer any of your tough criticism or questions that you might have. Thank you for being here tonight.